work before, I liked his work, but now Kevin Hart, who was picked to host the Oscars, which is the worst gig in Hollywood because there has not yet been a host at the Oscars who was treated well. He was picked to host the Oscars, and he was very excited about it until the social media mob came a-calling. So what did they do? They started filtering through all of his past tweets, because this is what we do now. We go through tweets that are 8 years old to try and destroy people on the eve of their greatest career triumphs. And I guess we feel better about ourselves for doing this. I guess that Americans feel great when we tear people down with tweets that are legitimately a decade old, because now we feel like we've made a step in favor of tolerance. But have you really made a step in favor of tolerance by digging up an old anti-gay tweet by Kevin Hart from 2011 and then destroying his career? Do you think Kevin Hart probably thinks the same things in 2011 that he thinks now? Do you really think that he'd make that joke right now? And by the way, how would you feel if everybody were digging up everything you ever said 10 years ago and using that as an opportunity to destroy your career? Well, that's exactly what happened with Kevin Hart. So here's how it started. On Tuesday, the Motion Picture Academy announced its big-name host for the 2019 Oscar ceremonies. It was going to be comedian Kevin Hart. But then all of these tweets surfaced, and Hart went back and he started deleting all of these past tweets. And then he posted a video statement on Instagram Thursday saying he's not going to get all worked up over the craziness. He said, guys, I'm almost 40 years old. If you don't believe that people change, grow, and evolve as they grow older, I don't know what to tell you. Which is a rational response to people finding stuff that you disagree with 10 years ago. There's been a lot of talk online recently about people going back and just purging their social media posts, specifically because they don't want to be held to account for stuff that they said 10 years ago and that they now disagree with. The Hollywood Reporter declared the issue a full-blown crisis on Thursday. It is deeply necessary that we destroy the career of somebody who tweeted something 10 years ago because it makes people have bad feelings. We don't want people to have bad feelings, guys. We can't have bad feelings at the Oscars. The Oscars is just, it's so wonderful. It's such a time of warmth. You know, when they yell at Republicans and talk about how religious people are stupid and then give awards to movies that nobody's ever seen on the basis of their intersectionality. They give awards to women having sex with fish, and they give awards to how it is to grow up young and gay and black in the inner city. You know, movies that nobody has ever seen nor anyone will ever see. And then they tell us how they are better people than we are. That's what they really need. They need more of that. What they don't need is comedians who are actually funny. They don't need people who actually make jokes. They need people who are woke. And if we don't have enough people who are woke, then obviously we have failed in our attempts to make the world a better place in Hollywood. And so after all of this was said, it was time for Kevin Hart to go. Kevin Hart had to be thrown out of the room because Kevin Hart made all of these terrible, no good, very bad, unacceptable jokes. There's an article today by a person named Owen Gleiberman, who no one's ever heard of and will never be of any use in life. And I say this because this is what critics do when they are deciding to tear somebody down. Owen Gleiberman writes, I'm not a person who tends to have a censorious attitude towards stand-up comedians. One of their jobs is to give voice to the audacious, the outrageous, the rudely incorrect. Yet, whenever they say yet, after they say, I love comedians. I love how they make jokes, jokes that are transgressive. As every joke is. Like, name your favorite joke. Unless you're talking about, like, dad jokes for your kids. Honestly, everyone's favorite joke transgresses some sort of taboo. Every single person's favorite. That's what makes the joke funny, is the shock effect. It's the incongruity. It's the fact that somebody said something true you're not allowed to say, right? That's why everybody likes comedians that cross lines. But according to this columnist, there are certain lines that cannot be crossed. Owen Gleiberman at Variety. Kevin Hart's comic tweets about the LGBTQ community, which consists basically of the aggressive flaunting of a lot of dumb and angry homophobic stereotypes. Here's one of them. Yo, if my son comes home and tries to play with my daughter's dollhouse, I'm going to break it over his head and say in my voice, stop, that's gay, can leave you with a slightly queasy feeling. First of all, if you think that's like the worst joke anybody ever told, let me ask you a question. Does anybody think that it was not a joke when he tweeted that? That he was legitimately going to go home and find a dollhouse and break it over his son's head? Does anyone think that was in Kevin Hart's heart when he said that? Or is it possible that he was just making fun of the stereotype? Or is it possible that he doesn't want his son to be gay, which, okay, you may not like that, but it's his kid. He says, yet most of the tweets date back 7 or 8 years, according to Variety. And no, it's not as if Hart should be banned from stand-up comedy or that we should now organize a boycott of The Upside, his upcoming buddy farce with Bryan Cranston. Yet Kevin Hart was not the right choice to host the 91st Academy Awards ceremony on February 24th, 2019. And so it's a good thing he's stepping down. Those tweets marked him as the wrong person, the wrong host, at the wrong time. Because 7 years ago, back when same-sex marriage was not legal across the country, he said a thing. My God, the thing that he said. Oh, okay, how woke are the folks in Hollywood They're so woke that one of the movies that's now being considered an Oscar frontrunner is this movie called Green Book. Okay? Nobody's going to see this movie. It's already failing at the box office because it is obviously Oscar bait. It is the story of basically a guy who didn't make The Sopranos. He's like an Italian mob reject who's driving a gay black man through the South in 1962. I know, riveting stuff. Now, you can't wait to see it, right? But this is perfect Oscar bait because it gets to say that Americans are simultaneously both rubes and good-hearted, both racist and wonderful, and that gay black people have so much to teach white Americans in every possible way, right? It's this kind of movie. Well, this movie was Oscar bait until Viggo Mortensen, who plays the Italian fellow, the Italian stereotype, until Viggo Mortensen went up on stage and he was talking about changes in the United States over the past 60 years. And he said there was a time in American history where people could casually use the word bleep. And the word bleep was the N-word. And he just said it. Oh, no. Worst thing ever. He pointed out that there was a time when people said the N-word, but he said the N-word in pointing out there was a time people said the N-word. That means he probably likes to say the N-word. So we now have to make sure that this movie wins no Oscars. What I love is that Hollywood, in purging itself of anyone of a different viewpoint, of anyone who once made a joke, of anyone who makes a reference to something that happened in history, in purging themselves, they declare themselves tolerant and open-minded and empathetic. Here's what Owen Gleiberman over at Variety writes. This is the most publicity he will ever get, Owen Gleiberman. The Oscars are an awards show, but as much as that, they're a celebration of movies. And what exactly are movies about? This year, they're about spectacular heroism and the liberation of new voices. Black Panther. Yes, that's right. Black Panther is going to be nominated for Best Picture, which, come on. I mean, I like Black Panther. I gave it a good review. I enjoyed the movie. It was nominated for Best Picture. The Death of Stalin was not nominated for Best Picture. Black Panther is a B+, A- rate Marvel movie. And it's going to be nominated for Best Picture because woke. They're about love and heartbreak. A Star is Born, which is not going to win. They're about feminist desperation and delicious conniving. The Favorite, which is about lesbians in 1870s Britain or some such. They're about the intersection of a time and a place and a family in Roma. But what all great movies are about on some level is empathy. Yeah, because that's what I do. You know, for me, when I decide to go out to a movie with my wife on Saturday night, what I say to her is, sweetheart, which movie do you think is the most empathetic? Let's go to that one. You know, not the one with the explosions, not the one with, you know, Tom Cruise jumping into a moving helicopter or something. The one that I desperately want to see is the one that is most empathetic. That's my thing. And if a movie doesn't have deep empathy, I don't want to see it. I mean, it's the reason I love Taken. It's because of the empathy underneath Liam Neeson saying that he's going to find you and he's going to kill you. That's what I love most about Taken. It's the reason that I really love Lord of the Rings. It's about all the empathy. It's not about, you know, the adventure or the plot or the character. It's about the empathy. And what's more, Hollywood is all about empathy. That's what they are. Owen Gladman says they have been and still are movies, the supreme vehicle for putting ourselves in the shoes of people who aren't us. To watch a great movie is to reduce that difference between the people on screen, whoever they might be, and the people in the audience to nothing. That, in a nutshell, is the miracle of movies. These days, it's all too easy to talk about black films or women's films or gay films or films for wizened retirees for Miami. But the glory of cinema is that no movie is for any one person at the expense of anyone else. They're all for everyone. They're not just about crossing boundaries. They're about melting them down. And that's why we have to melt Kevin Hart down into nothing and destroy his career. Because of empathy, guys. Empathy. It's why Viggo Mortensen can't win an Oscar this year. It's because of empathy. And the folks in Hollywood who are the most intolerant people, except when it comes to apparently first line producers raping people, then they're super tolerant.
So I just got a call from the Academy, and that call basically said, Kevin, apologize for your tweets of old, or we're going to have to move on and find another host. Talking about the tweets from 2009, 2010. I chose to pass. I passed on the apology. The reason why I passed is because I've addressed this several times. This is not the first time this has come up. I've addressed it. I've spoken on it. I've said where the rights and wrongs were. I've said who I am now versus who I was then. I've done it. I'm not going to continue to go back and tap into the days of old when I moved on and I'm in a completely different space in my life. The same energy that went into finding those old tweets could be the same energy put into finding the response to the questions that have been asked years after years after years. We feed in the internet trolls and we reward them. I'm not going to do it, man. I'm going to be me. I'm going to stand my ground. Regardless, Academy, I'm thankful and appreciative of the opportunity. If it goes away, no harm, no foul. I swear, man, our world is becoming beyond crazy. And I'm not going to let the craziness frustrate me or anger me, especially when I worked hard to get to the mental space that I am at now. My team calls me, oh my God, Kevin, the world is upset about tweets you did years ago. Oh my God. Guys, I'm almost 40 years old. If you don't believe that people change, grow, evolve as they get older, I don't know what to tell you. If you want to hold people in a position where they always have to justify or explain their past, then do you. I'm the wrong guy, man. I'm in a great place, a great mature place where all I do is spread positivity. If you're not doing that,